It's 20 years now since the 9/11 attacks in the United States, and that ugly event had a colossal effect, not just on the US's financial market, but its economy in general. And this isn't surprising considering that Wall Street was just a street away from the Twin Towers blown up by suicide bombers, and the toll of that was felt around the world. Foreign Affairs correspondent Moyo Thomas takes a look at this global impact.
The common saying, when the US sneezes, the rest of the world catches cold, was vividly expressed by the economic impact of the 9/11 attacks. The Wall Street is home to the world's largest stock exchanges and several banking headquarters. Its proximity to the World Trade Center meant an immediate closure of the all-important financial district. Effect was an immediate plunge of the capital markets.
The World Trade Center is just a few blocks away from Wall Street, and so the markets didn't open. So you noticed that the markets were down.
This is no surprise, as the Twin Towers alone have an head count of almost 200,000 people daily. 50,000 are staff members of the 430 companies housed in the tower, and about 140,000 daily visitors transacting different businesses in the towers. As at the time of attacks, the damage was estimated at about $60 billion, and the cleanup of Ground Zero was put at about $750 million. The resilience of the American economy helped it bounce back fast, but not without effect spreading to other countries.
When it happened, the U.S. rallied and injected money into the market. The aviation industry was hit hard. All of them could have gone out of business, but they shut them immediately.
The capital markets globally. So whether you were looking at the U.S. stock markets, whether it was the Standard & Poor's, whether it was the Nasdaq, for example, the Dow Jones, they all plunged. And across the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean in Europe, the effect was also felt. The effect was felt as far as Asia. Japan's Nike index, the China, the Shanghai index, they're all affected. So we saw all of that, globally.
Surprisingly, it didn't really affect Africa.
But to a lesser, if you like, if you permit that word, a lesser extent, frontier economies were not as affected as developed markets. For example, the stock markets in African countries were not as affected as those of developed markets at the time, and that's partly because of the level of integration of African stock markets to what you have globally.
For those affected in the attacks, over $7 billion have been paid in compensation to the families that died and the 2,680 injured people. This terrorist attack set the U.S. on a path of asserting itself as a defender against global terrorism.
The symbolism alone and the psychological impact was great, but there was also an economic impact for shutting down New York City and Manhattan for a period of time. So there probably is a number out there in terms of how much New York State lost that day in terms of money, but we weren't focused on that. We were all focused on the 3,000 people who died and what were their stories and what was the impact on their family.
Memories and impact of 9/11 can definitely not be forgotten for generations to come, but ending global terrorism will help ease the pains. Moyo Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.